One of the awesome ideas that inspires us as Christians is the concept of providence. The idea that God is constantly providing for us, guiding us, leading us. Now, sometimes people will say, well, if God's providing for us, why are so many people dying of starvation? Glad you asked. You see, the thing is, there's plenty of food on this planet. In fact, we waste enough food or burn enough food every year to feed every single person on the planet. God's provided the food. The problem is that we're not that good at sharing the food. We're not that good at distributing the food. We're not that good at getting the food to the people who actually need the food. You see, what God wants with us, He wants a dynamic collaboration. God just doesn't want to wave His hand and everything happen on earth the way He wants it. He wants relationship. He wants dynamic collaboration. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, because that's the heart of providence, is this dynamic collaboration between God and man. Even when Jesus came, what happened? The angel showed up to Mary and said, Mary, are you in? Mary said, yes. God could have just waved His hand and given us salvation, but He didn't want it that way. He wanted a dynamic relationship with humanity, and guess what? He wants a dynamic relationship with you too. There's a legend about a British family that was vacationing in Scotland. One afternoon, the son of this British nobleman got caught in a swamp. He just couldn't get out of the swampland. It was just swallowing him up. He started screaming for help, crying for help, but of course he's out there in the middle of nowhere. And so he wasn't confident at all that anybody would hear him or that there'd be anyone out there to actually help him. But a mile or so away, somebody heard him, and it was a farmer boy. And he came running and ultimately got this young British man out of the swampland and saved his life. The next morning, there was a knock on the door where the farmer lived. When they opened the door, there was this incredible carriage there, and there was the nobleman. And the nobleman said to the farmer, he said, your son saved my son's life yesterday. The nobleman could tell that the farmer's family was living in poverty, and he offered him money as a reward for saving his son's life. But the farmer absolutely refused to accept any money. Finally, the nobleman said, well, let me pay for your son to be educated. And to that, the farmer agreed. He'd always dreamt that his son could have a great education. The boy went to school, he went to high school, went on to college, and finally went on to medical school, all at the expense of the nobleman. Many, many years later, the nobleman's son was dying again. He had pneumonia, and this time, his life was saved by penicillin. The farmer boy, that was Sir Alexander Fleming, who invented penicillin. The son of the nobleman, that was Sir Winston Churchill, the man who ultimately went on to stop Adolf Hitler. Imagine what the world would be like if Hitler hadn't been stopped. It'd be a very different world today. St. Catherine of Siena spoke about Jesus as a bridge, and in many ways, God wants to use you as a bridge as well. God's created you for a mission, and there's a world full of need out there, and your mission is going to answer some of that need. Your mission is going to alleviate some of that need. And guess what? If you don't do it, it'll go undone. You know, God's called me to a mission, and part of my mission is to love my wife and to love my children. You know, if I don't love my children, there's no plan B. There's no Matthew B. There's no other dad that steps in and says, Matthew's been a lousy father, so I got to step in as the substitute father and love his children. If you don't fulfill your mission, if you don't fulfill the plan that God has created you for, there's no backup plan. That mission goes undone. Sometimes people say, yeah, the world is a bit of a mess. I wonder how it got to be such a mess. I can tell you exactly how it got to be a little bit of a mess. The world got to be a mess because people abandon their missions. And when people abandon their missions, the world becomes a mess. So start thinking about it. You're made for mission. What's your mission? What's the mission that God is calling you to in your life? Because you never know how far that mission is going to reach, how many people's lives are going to be touched by that mission, and the incredible good that God wants to do through you.